Hey guys, so we're gearing up for another beta week on Elder Scrolls Online, and they've made a few changes for this beta, and I wanted to kind of go over them real fast and kind of give you an idea of what to expect that's been changed since the last beta session in this new coming patch. They've done a few things. A few things are kind of interesting. I'm looking forward to see how they kind of affect the game and change things. The first thing that they've talked about is they have streamlined the tutorial, making it improved, make it a little more interesting encounters, and then you can skip them if you've done them on another character. One of the big things that they have now added character collision for PvE, so there'll be no more clipping through enemy NPCs and mobs. And this is a big thing I've been waiting for. I'm really looking forward to it. Curious to see how well it works, to see if there's any issues with it, if it makes any kind of new bugs or problems. A lot of people have been waiting for this, so it'll be interesting to see how that works. They've also added more camera shake for light and heavy attacks. When you get hit by like enemy projectiles, be it arrows or spells, your camera will shake a little bit more now, depending on the power of the attack and what kind of attack it is, just to add a little bit more kind of immersion to the game. They've also added light and heavy attack animations. They've basically kind of modified them, and they made the impacts a little bit better and kind of improved the animations for them. They've also added more realistic running. Now, I'm kind of curious to see how well this works. The idea behind it is that when you start running in the game, you'll kind of have an acceleration when kind of speeding up to your full running, and when you come to a stop, you'll actually kind of have a deceleration as you're coming to a stop, and that'll be interesting to see how that looks in the game, and if it actually adds any little bit of immersion. And those are what's going to be in this coming patch for this weekend. They also did do a little bit of talking about what they're working on for future content in the game, and there's some really interesting things that they're going to be doing. A couple in here that I really am looking forward to. One of them is the field of view slider. There isn't really, too much you can say about it. If you know what I'm talking about, your field of view slider basically will allow you to widen out your field of view, your range, and how much you can see on screen. And this is important for a lot of people because some people suffer from, I guess, what you would call like motion sickness if they have a really small field of view. Personally, I've never suffered from that, but I will like increasing that field of view, being able to see more of your surroundings. It's one of those things right now when you play in first-person mode in the game, which I absolutely love. That's what I mostly play in. But now you'll be able to get a little bit better idea of your surrounding and what's around you and the enemies. A lot of people play in third-person because it gives you a better view of the field, what's going on, especially in something like dungeon groups or raiding or PvP. It gives you that better view of the enemies coming up behind you or near you. So that field of view slider is going to help, and it will help people who just like that wider field of view because they have motion sickness problems. So I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully they get that in there pretty quick. Another thing that they're working on that I'm really looking forward to, and then this is in the vein of them trying to make the MMO a little bit more like the single-player Elder Scroll experience, and that they're also working on the improved world interactivity. And what that basically means is that you'll be able to interact with your character in more items in the game, more things you may find out in the world. You'll be able to interact with them more often. In Elder Scrolls, the single-player version, if you come across an armor rack and there's armor on it, you can grab a sword off there and armor off there. And that's one of the examples that they use for them wanting to do this, is that if they come across, a player comes across that armor rack with some cool armor or a sword on it, they want you to be able to pick that up and actually use it. So that's going to appease a lot of the single-player Elder Scroll fans. I know it's going to appease me. I'm really looking forward to more kind of an interactive world where it's kind of that what you see is what you get, and you can actually interact with those things that you find. So hopefully that improves to get better, and they do a lot of stuff with that, and I'm really looking forward to that. Another thing they're going to be adding is called Death Recap. And basically, Death Recap is when you die, you will now get this kind of a UI pop-up that will kind of inform you what killed you, what the last top 5 events were that contributed to your death, and it'll offer some hints that might contribute to your success in the future. That's according to them. So basically, it's basically kind of just a death log. It tells you like who killed you, what killed you, maybe what you can do in the future. I don't know exactly how that part of it's going to work, but that's kind of a nice little thing, especially those for in PvP. It'll be interesting to be able to have access to that information. Battle level, you'll be able to toggle that off when you're leveling in Cyrodiil if you wish. And they also talked about player separation. How the game is set up right now, there are some instances where you're doing quests and content out in the world, and because how they do some of the kind of phasing, groups can become separated. If you're out questing with the friends and you're doing certain quests, you can become separated from your kind of group and the people that you're with. And they're looking at ways to make sure that the groups, when they're out doing these kinds of content, will stay together with your group members. They said they actually already have some solutions for that, and they're in testing right now, so it'll be interesting to see how well they work. And they also talked about adventure zones, and I don't have a lot of kind of information on that yet. I haven't really experienced it too much. But they're talking about they're going to be doing a lot with that in the future here pretty soon. And they said, it's one of those things a lot of people are looking forward to, and they're really excited about it, and they're going to have a lot of details about that coming up pretty soon. So this is the last beta session before the early access, so we'll have to see how this most recent patch is and how they've worked out some of the kinks and the bugs. I've still been having some quest bugs. There's been a lot of quests where people just couldn't continue them, and they'd have to log out and log back in and log out again and keep trying that until they could finish them. So there still are some issues with the game, but they are getting better, and it'll be interesting to see how they've progressed in the last couple weeks. And I'll have more content from this upcoming beta weekend, and I'll be posting that pretty soon, early next week hopefully. So stay tuned, and I'll let you know how it goes. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll catch you soon.